An hour-long phone call was leaked, and it was a phone call between, and I don't know what the date is. I think it was it was a leak that was leaked very recent, like very immediately after the phone call took place. So I think the phone call happened in January, like it happened maybe on the 2nd, I want to say, and the call was basically Trump and a couple of his lawyers talking to the Georgia Secretary of State and his lawyer. And the headlines were, "Oh, Trump is trying to steal the election. He's threatening people and blah blah." And I knew immediately that that was hyperbole. I knew that no, that's not what the call is going to be. Was what I wasn't fully expecting, and was disappointed to hear, was it was the exact opposite. It was the exact opposite. It sounded like the version of Trump that what's his name, the Overstock CEO guy said that Trump was like in the meeting with him and Sidney Powell and everything, where he just looked like he was out of his depth and his lawyers were not exactly helpful. That's kind of the Trump that came across. It was the same Trump that you've heard in the rally. In fact, the if you listen to the phone call and then you watch the rally, it's almost the same thing. Like it was literally, he covered the same thing. And so it was kind of like, I don't know why, well, I know why it's news is because it's a leaked phone call, so they can make that sound sexy and make it sound like, oh, look, and we can selectively edit it and make it sound like he's doing, and the imagination of both sides will go off the rails. Both sides. So while the left is saying, oh my God, he's trying to steal the election. He's threatening people, which, I mean, if you listen to it, he's not threatening anybody. He's just saying like everything that he said in his rally speech tonight, just on the phone with a couple lawyers. And and plus you can tell that the Georgia Secretary of State and his lawyers, they're not scared. They're not going to budge, which really made Trump kind of come across as anemic, just not in control of the situation, honestly. But if you're a crazy leftist that hates Trump, he sounded like he was trying to threaten them and all this crazy stuff. And if you're on the other side and you're a crazy Q person that thinks Trump was sent here by God, you heard like that Trump's given them one. And in fact, here's the funny thing. And I want to talk about this. I knew immediately how the Q people would spin it. And I tweeted out exactly how they were going to spin it before a lot of them started talking exactly, saying exactly what I said they were saying. And the reason why that was easy to do is all I had to do was listen to one Q person talk about it, because they're never different. If you ever notice that, all the Q people, and this is regardless of, like, I don't think Q didn't make any comments about the phone call, right? Yet somehow all the Q people are always exactly on the same page. Exactly the same page. Every time, no matter what happens, there's never like differing theories about what the 4D chess is. There's never, ever. All the Q people in unison will tell you the exact same 4D chess theory. With no variation. Which is amazing to me. But that's just something I've noticed. So even after I tweeted out, like, look, Q people, so I think I said something along the lines of, it's fascinating having listened to the call to watch Q people now spin this as this is Trump giving the Georgia Secretary of State and his lawyers one last chance before he pulls the trigger and burns them to the ground. And which is precisely what all the Q people have been saying. And the reason I knew that is because I heard like one or two Q people say that, and I was like, okay, well, that's exactly what they're all going to say. There's literally no independent thought. I mean, let me put it this way. There's just as much independent thought on the Q crazy side as there is the leftists that similarly will parrot in unison whatever MSNBC is saying. Like, if you've ever noticed that, there's never any variation on their side either. You know, like, it's not like CNN has this theory and MSNBC has this theory and ABC has, you know, no, it's, they all have the exact same narrative. All of them. And that's what's happened to the Q people. They all have the exact same narrative. And I would love to research further and try to find, because it's got to originate somewhere, right? And like I said, it's not originating from Q because Q hasn't posted anything. So it'd be interesting to find out, like, who is, like, almost do like an org chart, you know, because there's obviously a trickling down that's happening, right? Like, someone is coming up with the 4D chess spooky whatever, right? And like, oh, this is the excuse we're going to use for this time. And that somehow is trickling down to all the Q and Q adjacent people. And but there's got to be a hierarchy. There's got to be a hierarchy. On the left, I mean, there's got to be a hierarchy also, like New York Times, maybe Washington Post. I don't know who's exactly the metrodome to the song that they're all playing. But there's definitely a hierarchy on that side as well. But it's just fascinating to watch. It's fascinating to watch it happen because I listened to that call. And the takeaway, what I got from that call was, okay, this is just Trump regurgitating literally, and I know this for, like, look, the Secretary of State of Georgia and his lawyer, they've already heard all this stuff, right? Because I've sat through the hearings, some of which were very long, you know, and I know for a fact that they have been presented with all of these irregularities. And I also know that while withholding information from people who, like, valuable information that you would need to see to, I guess, have some kind of transparency, right? But rather than letting people have access to this data, not all of, and their excuse they're using is, oh, we can't let you have access to this because this was, you know, it's voter data, it's sacred. That's bullshit. All right, no one's asking to see, and I don't even know that they have the ability to see who voted for who. Right, like so it's all bullshit, and it's bullshit that they're hiding. But, like, they're not afraid. Legally speaking, I think they're in like a good spot. They don't have to worry about anything. And on that phone call, it was just a reiteration of that. It was Trump complaining about the irregularities and honestly, kind of in a boomery way, like in a way that kind of made me feel like he probably should have had someone else there, you know, to go over some of this stuff, because he was focusing on stuff that really was kind of, you know, not really powerful. And he was just getting shot down left and right, the same way the Secretary of State and his lawyers have shot down like Giuliani in the past. So it was just like watching like a condensed version of some of these hearings. There was nothing to it. And you can go on my Telegram. I've got an MP3 version of it. It's like an hour long. I'd play excerpts of it, but it's like an hour long. And you can download it and listen to it for yourself. Both sides are full of shit. There was no threats. I mean, he did say that, like, oh, if you're covering this up, that might be criminal. You shouldn't want to cover this up. If, what if we find out that, and you're covering this up? Like, but it wasn't like mafia style, like the way that it was being framed. It wasn't like, it'd be a shame if we found out that you were covering, it wasn't like that at all. And conversely, it wasn't Trump saying, I've got this evidence, and, this is your last chance. Because, first of all, why? Why? Your last chance? He's giving them one last chance? Why? Why? If you've got the goods, right? And they're treasonous fuckers, right? Like, if that's the Q narrative, right? Like, he's got, Patriots in control. We've got all the servers or whatever the fuck, right? Then why are you on the phone begging them to reevaluate Fulton County? Why? If you don't need them, why? If you've got like this golden ticket that's going to change everything on the 6th or whatever, why are you wasting an hour on the phone with these guys who are clearly not going to budge? Why? There's no reason for